Guys, this is it. We are now in the final few weeks before Brexit means Brexit actually happens. On the 1st of January 2021, the never-ending nightmare of Brexit is actually going to be done, and we are officially ending the transition period and separating from the European Union. So in this video, I'm going to be running through the challenges and implications of Brexit to Amazon FBA sellers. So this is something that's really important whether you are selling in the European Union or not. So make sure that you sit tight, get a pen and paper at the ready, and get prepared for Brexit. Okay, so as I just mentioned, on the 1st of January 2021, New Year's Day, the UK is due to formally leave the EU's Single Market and Customs Union. Now, what this means is if you are to be sending goods from the UK to any address in the EU, those goods are going to have to go through customs. Previously, goods would have just gone straight to the addressee in the EU, but now because they're going to have to go through customs again, that means that duties and taxes are going to be owed. Now, believe it or not, even though we are in the final few weeks of negotiations, the actual agreement on what taxes, tariffs, and duties are going to be payable, the discussions around that are still ongoing. So we can't say for sure what they're going to be, but what we can say for sure is it's certainly going to be more difficult and more expensive to send goods from the UK to somebody in the EU than it was before. Okay, so what does this mean for those of you that sell in the UK and in Europe? Well, what it means is that you are going to have to change your approach to sending goods to Europe in the UK unless you want to pay taxes and duties twice. So historically, when we have been in the European Union, sellers have been able to import goods directly to the UK and then get Amazon to distribute those goods throughout their European fulfillment centres. And that has been done completely for free. And with that approach, they've only had to pay customs fees like duties and taxes once, i.e. when the goods come into the UK. Now, if you don't change that approach, what's going to happen now is you're going to have to pay duties and taxes twice, i.e. you'll pay duties and taxes when the goods come to the UK, and then you'll have to pay duties and taxes again when you send your goods from the UK to a fulfillment centre in Europe. So what you need to do in order to avoid this, avoid paying more duties and taxes than necessary, is to get your supplier to split your order up. If you know that 80% of your sales come from the UK and 20% of sales come from Europe, what you need to do is get your supplier to send 80% of your order to the UK and 20% of your order to a fulfillment centre in Europe. And that way you will only pay duties and taxes once. You'll pay it once on the 80% that arrives in the UK, and you'll pay it once on the 20% that arrives in Europe. So if you don't change that approach, if you don't yet let your supplier know to do that, you are going to end up paying a lot more duties and taxes than necessary. So if you are planning on selling goods throughout Europe, there are two things that you need to make sure that you've done now that we are leaving the EU. The first is you need to apply for a European EORI number. Now, historically, when we were part of the EU, you would have had one of these anyway to import goods. But because of the fact that we have now left the European Union, that historic number is going to be a UK EORI number, i.e. it's needed to import goods into the UK. So if you want to also import goods to Europe, the EU, you're going to need a separate EORI number. The EORI number is very easy to get. It's completely free to get, and I'll put a link for the application form in the description box below. So you don't need to worry about, whether the fact that you haven't got one yet. It's very quick to get. I believe it takes like 7 days. Just make sure you get one. Now, the second thing that you need to make sure you've done if you are planning on sending goods to a fulfillment centre in Europe is that you've registered for VAT in the country where you're planning on storing goods. Now, historically, Amazon allowed us to do something called the European Fulfillment Network, which basically means we can dispatch goods from the UK to anybody in Europe. But now they're not offering that service because of this new customs border. So if you want to sell in Europe, you're going to have to send goods to a European fulfillment centre, which means that you need to register for VAT in your country of choice. So make sure you remember to do that. So as I mentioned earlier on, from the 1st of January, we are no longer going to be part of the EU's customs union, which means that if we're sending goods from the UK to Europe, we're going to have to pay their duties and taxes. Now, this actually offers some potential upside. Believe it or not, there is a bright side of what's going to be happening next year, in that we are now going to have to pay, when we import goods to the UK's rate of duties and taxes. And in some circumstances, a lot of circumstances actually, the duties rate is actually going to be lower than the European Union's duties rate. I did a bit of reading earlier on, and basically the logic is that the UK said they wanted to simplify the duties structures and rates. They were too complicated. So they have simplified them all, and they have published them on this website here. Check future UK trade tariffs. And I will put that in the description of the video below. But what you need to do is you need to visit the website, type in the product that you're selling or your commodity code. And instead of looking here at the common external tariff, you need to look at the UK global tariff. Now, when I was looking through this list earlier at my own products, I saw that the duties rate has actually come down, which is great because it means a higher amount of profit for me. So I would advise you guys to take a look at this website, find your product and, have a look. And let's just have a look here. Say if you're selling floor coverings, you'll see the existing duties rate was 6.5%. And now from the 1st of January, it's going to be 6%. So there is a silver lining to us leaving the European Union after all. Now, the final thing to be aware of, and this is going to impact you whether you sell in the EU or not, is a change to product compliance rules. Now, historically, as part of the EU, in order to show that our product complied with relevant EU legislation, we had to show something known as the CE mark. And if you don't know what that is, that's probably because your product doesn't fall within the relevant directives, the European directives. So you don't need to be concerned about that. But the majority, if not all, of electrical products require that CE mark. Now, because we're leaving the European Union, that CE mark, which is a European mark, is no longer going to be required if you just sell in the UK. However, what is going to be required is a new mark, the UKCA mark. So from the 1st of January 2021, that is going to be enforced, but it's not going to be mandatory. It becomes mandatory on products and product packaging from the 1st of January 2022. So make sure that if you are selling goods just in the UK or in the UK and Europe, that your product contains that new UKCA mark if it's required. And if you're not sure, you can check with your supplier. And if you're still not sure, or if they're not sure, hopefully they are, you can have a quick search on Google. So that's the first kind of change to product compliance. Other changes, which I'm not going to go into as much detail here because they impact fewer products, are going to be new energy labeling requirements, new chemical regulations, changes to medical devices, changes to hallmarking for jewelry, and changes to food and drink labeling. And if you want more detail on any of those, I would advise just head on to Amazon's website. They've got a nice Brexit section, or alternatively, just have a search on Google. So that was a summary of the main changes and implications affecting Amazon FBA sellers as a result of Brexit. I'll put a summary of those on the screen now. The main ones that you should definitely be aware of are the changes to duties and taxes in the UK. So make sure you check those because your profit may hopefully be going up, and changes in the way that you import goods to the UK and Europe. So remember to get your supplier to split the order up if you are going to be selling in the UK and in Europe. And of course, guys, make sure that your product's packaging and the product itself is compliant with UK regulations and European Union regulations. As I mentioned earlier, just double check with your supplier and check with Google and whoever else you can think of in order to get comfort that you are fully compliant. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video, guys. If you have, please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time for another Amazon FBA video.